This outhouse is from the era of the CCC and the WPA days. That's the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration, that were job programs that got people through the Great Depression and into the 30s and the 40s. This outhouse used to sit a mile to the east at an old logging camp over there. All the barracks that were built there, they've been falling into the ground, and this outhouse is the only thing remaining. There used to be a little plate up here that said, "Property of the United States government." Unfortunately, somebody came in and they used a log skidder to smash the wall to get that board off. So that little piece of the history is gone, but this outhouse was built so solid that it did not give up that piece without a fight. The outhouse was rotting into the ground, and so I got permission to try to salvage it and get it moved over to my place. Now that was about a mile away, and it's big. This outhouse, it's over 6.5 feet each way and 9.5 feet high. So that compounded the task of trying to get the thing over here. The outhouse needed to be that big because it was a two-holer. And that was even compounded and made worse because along the left wall there was a urinating rail. So even more could crowd in there. I don't even want to think about the atmosphere of what it was like in there with all that going on and maybe a few guys smoking pipes. It was a well-engineered outhouse though, and they did have this very innovative stack built in. This big T-vent to help relieve some of those bad air problems. As I made my plans of how I was going to go about moving it, I knew a wheelbarrow was going to be involved, so this outhouse had to come apart. I ended up, the roof shingles, the cedar shakes were all rotted, so they were scraped off. And then I took the roof panels off, took the 4 walls off, so I ended up with 4 sides, 2 roof pieces, and the all-important seating arrangement to get moved over to the cabin, 1 piece at a time. I strapped each piece on the top of the wheelbarrow. So they were 6.5 foot by 6.5, and then I'll proceed toward the cabin. Some of the wet spots, the wheel would drop through the axle, so that added to all the fun I was having. And I also had the problem that in many places the trail was only 4 feet wide. So in that case I had to take it off the wheelbarrow, drag it through sideways, and then reload onto the wheelbarrow. But after a few days of hard toil, all the pieces had arrived, and now it was time to put it up. I had already cribbed up a new outhouse hole. I will save you that view. And then cedar planks were cut, and the whole new floor was laid in. And then when I put the walls up, I was able to anchor them securely around that nice thick cedar. Very secure, it should last a long time. I had the walls up, but I waited till a friend arrived till we raised and put the top roof panels up. That was just more than I could handle by myself. All the roofing metal had been hauled in previously, so then it was just a matter of making some adaptations, making it all work. There was so much wood damage and rotted of the siding that I had to make some new. So I took advantage, put some hinges on it, made a folding down door so that it helped with a little air quality and lets a lot more light into the outhouse. The lean-tos were installed to store my ever-increasing collection of tools and mowing equipment and all those little things I wanted to keep dry. Had the added bonus that a shelf was put in back here, and that's where frequent visitors have their little private tub where they can store sleeping bags and other necessary things they don't want to be taken back and forth all the time. I have no desire to share my outhouse with anyone, so that second hole was covered over. It made for more storage space. And then up on with all that extra space along that side of the outhouse, more shelving was put in. Made a lot more storage space, shelf space to keep things dry. At one time the propane refrigerator was used just inside this door on that shelf, and A friend commented after visiting that it was sure nice to be able to reach across and grab a cold beer while he abided his time out here. The latch is from a huge camp oven over to a big logging camp that was about a mile to the west. It's quite a brute. Works really well. But I had to put a little secondary thing in there because a friend came out one day and he pulled the door shut behind him, and as it closed, he heard. And he was locked in. Fortunately, the back half wall was open and he could crawl out, and he explained the problem to me. So a fix had to be in order. A little more scrap iron put to use. And if you're inside and get locked in, this little, it'll get you out. Little problems that always arise when you make some of this homemade stuff. Final touches were the TP dispensers. Fancy one for the ladies. More of a primitive one from the gents. An old lid came off of the stove down at the homestead. And one that added a little humidity. It's sure nice to have a light clicked on.